Hey, welcome to the Infinity Bros podcast, the only podcast that is perfectly balanced as all things should be. I'm your host, Max Mosier, here today with one other Infinity Bro and a special guest we will get to in a moment. But first, it is the person who says we are sticky together and absolutely ruins me every time we're together. It is Infinity Bro Mark Jones.
You're right, Max. I do ruin you every time we're together. That is 100% correct statement from Max Mosier, not me. I'm glad to be here in Infinity Bros universe because I get no more joy than recording with the bros and guests.
Bro and guest, single bro.
Well, he's such a, compassing person that he's almost like multiple people.
Sure.
Are you calling me fat?
No, I'm not.
Was that just
nobody's calling anybody fat here.
That's body shaming, Mark.
I'm big, so I can body shame people. So
no, it's cool. I know a fat person. It's fine.
Yeah, they let me say that.
And on that note, welcome our guest from the Christian Nerd Podcast. It's our dear friend of the show, Scott Higa. Scott, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for having me on the Infinity Bros podcast. I believe this is my third appearance. I don't know if that makes me like leader in the clubhouse, but I'm excited and honored and felt gracious that you would invite me on. So I'm happy to be here.
Once you get to 5 times, you get a jacket.
I was just going to ask that. Do we treat it like SNL?
Five Timers Club.
Right. Yeah. Do we do that?
But we only have one jacket. So hopefully you're an XL.
No, but my friend, he can wear it for me.
Mark, have you ever been on the Christian Nerd Podcast?
No.
Is this awkward? No, I haven't had Zane on either. So are these the only two Infinity Bros?
No, I'm just wanted to ask the question and get it out there. I'm not insinuating anything. I just wanted to ask a question.
Have you been on the show, Max?
Haven't.
Oh my goodness, this is awkward.
You've had Isaac on like 7 times, and I just want you to know that that's painful for you, not me.
Know. Well, I remember you guys talked about. I think it was on the patrons, like who would be most likely to leave the Infinity Bros, and Isaac was pretty up there because he has all these connections and he wants to go do more Christian content, and so I'm just waiting with open arms. I'm going to seduce him, actually.
It'd be a pretty easy shift for you too. You just slap an S on the end of Christian Nerd and you're done, right?
Well,
Christian Nerds.
Before I had a co-host and it was just the Christian Nerd. But you know what? Really? I'm not going to go back to that because it's too much editing.
No.
It's just awful.
It's something.
I can imagine there's many things on the cutting room floor that were they to get out, the Infinity Bros might be canceled.
Several. I think there's about 3 of us that for sure would be cut if that happened.
I still want to know, there was something that somebody said. Oh, what was it? There was a text message, Zane said something that was so bad.
I still don't know.
Group chat.
Oh.
And only a group chat with 11 guys, and only Robbie and I saw what
That's
Zane
right.
said.
That was
I
loved that conversation. Just the thing that Zane said,
and
that
it was
got
a
deleted.
reference to Max in some way. And out of everyone, Robbie and I were like, no.
On his deathbed, Mark, when you were standing over Max's dying body because you have finally vanquished your nemesis, you whisper in his ear as the light fades from his eyes what that text message said. The last thing he remembers in his life is you telling him what Zane said.
No, I grab him by the collar and I yell in his ear, "I beat you." Like Daredevil the Kingpin.
Put a hood over your eyes.
Yeah.
So I can't even look you in the eyes.
And there's Sarah and the doctors are ripping me away from your body on the hospital bed.
You can't do it. Welcome to the Infinity Bros podcast. You can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and Twitch and Discord. All of these links are in the show notes below. We will also have a link if you can stomach him, Scott, which a lot of us, there may have been a quick heading over to another podcast. You can check out the Christian Nerd. We will have a link to his show as well. That's the only cross promotion we're doing, though, Scott. I don't want to hear you bringing it up anymore. I don't want to hear any special events you're doing. Just let's keep the cross promotion.
Just from here on out, only Infinity Bros content.
Yeah,
here with
let's
me, the Christian
trust-
Scott Higa.
yeah, trust the process here.
Is there a Slack group people can join too for Christian nerd stuff?
There is. We got a Slack group with the Christian nerds called the Octagon. It's a great place to hang out. It's like your Discord server, but people participate. That was rude.
Oh my!
Jeez.
Oh! Woo! Oh my goodness!
Mean.
Oof.
Email me, Scott the Christian.
All right.
I'll get you added to that.
We're podcasting. We're doing it. Before we get into our advertised content, which you will get to, so cool your jets out there, whoever's getting frustrated.
Calm down.
How offended on a scale of 1 to 6? We rate things 1 to 6. We'll put the bumper in later. On a scale of 1 to 6, how offended do you get when people make jokes like go to therapy instead of starting a podcast, Scott? Because like that rhetoric's going around a little more right now. I think in the atmosphere, in the Twitter sphere, excuse me.
People who say that don't know how much a therapist costs, because sometimes a therapist, just one session can be anywhere from $180 to $500. So those people can go F themselves. So
I think actually, Mark, I know you're being serious, and I don't disagree with you.
Yeah. So therapy is expensive, and as we discussed in the pre-show, and if you want access to that, become a patron of the Infinity Bros at patreon.com/theinfinitybros.
Smooth. Very smooth.
You would hear me discussing my greatest fears of living in the golden state of California, and a number of those are related to the cost of living out here. So the cost of therapy is very expensive, and I did try finding a therapist earlier this year, and I looked at all the therapists that were available through my insurance, and none of them were accepting new patients. Like, they weren't. So that was tough. And yeah, a therapy session is $150, $200. Do that 2 or 3 times a month. My Libsyn costs $20. So it's much cheaper for me to turn on this microphone, talk into it, share all my feelings, maybe cry a little bit, talk about an existential crisis I'm going through, and then put a nice bow on it, and then, go on with the rest of my day.
And basically, you're doing what you might do in a therapy session that some therapists will tell you to do. It's like, oh, you should go talk to people with this. You should have a journal. So, you know what you do? You have your own podcast that you talk about stuff. That's basically your living journal. So,
I just find it funny that the same people that go like, hey, do whatever makes you happy. Just do whatever makes you happy. For some reason, doing a podcast doesn't make them happy. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're podcasting. Unbelievable.
There's less healthy things to do. We could go out and be drinkers. We could be going to the bar and spending hundreds of dollars every night drinking.
You're right.
So.
We could, but here we are. Just 3 nerds enjoying some podcasting.
I've got vodka in my water bottle right now. Just kidding. It's water.
With vodka.
And with vodka and lemon.
It's just water. Ice cold water in my hydro flask. Do you guys have hydro flasks out there? Like the Midwest.
We love hydro flasks. Big hydro flask. Oh, yeah. Big Yeti family over here at the Mosier home.
Actually, Scott, there's a thing called a thermos that just looks like this giant missile. That's what we have in the Midwest. We had those before it was cool, so,
I remember going on road trips with my grandpa, and he had like his legit thermos, and he would just pour hot coffee into the thermos lid.
For the lid.
Yeah, and just drink it, driving his van. I was like, man, you're a gangster, Grandpa.
Yep.
Drinking your hot coffee that you made 4 hours ago.
And it's still hot.
Yeah.
You didn't come here to talk about hot chocolate, hot coffee, hydro flasks.
Tell people what they come to do.
Mark, just let me do this. You came here to listen to our rhetoric on Guardians of the Galaxy, the holiday special. Max. You came to hear us talk about the Ant-Man trailer, and then, of course, our main event, the Black Adam movie, which just premiered with The Rock. First, we're going to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy, the holiday special, and rate it. But before we do that, we want to make sure we're going to spoil everything we talk about in these trailers and the movie. So this is your universal spoiler warning. We're going to put that right here.
This is...
Prepare yourself.
An Infinity Bros.
Prepare yourself.
Spoiler. Warning.
Infinity Bros Podcast.
And then we're going to give you the rating system. If this is your first time, we talked about it initially earlier, but we want to make sure you are familiar with our rating system and how we rate things on this show.
Here on the Infinity Bros Podcast, everything is ranked from a 0 to 6 point scale. 0 meaning horrible, and 6 meaning absolutely excellent. If all of the Infinity Bros rank something a 6, it gets an Infinity Step.
I never hear the ratings anymore because I just listen to the Patreon feed.
Oh, nice. Yeah, if you listen to the Patreon, You don't have to hear the drops if you listen to the Patreon. Another good reason to subscribe.
If there's a new one, I won't know. You have to let me know. Text it to me.
Yeah, I'll let you know if we do a new one. I have a couple kids that listen from Young Life, and they just like, your bumpers are stupid. I'm like, get your own podcast.
Get some therapy and then get your own podcast.
Do you tell them to go back to their dad's yacht?
Yeah. Well, actually, one of them does live on the lake, so Andy has a trampoline in the lake. That's Brando. Brando did our on our podcast, our little intro. He's the one that wrote the intro. Guardians of the Galaxy: The Holiday Special stars Star-Lord, Drax, Rocket, Mantis, and Groot as they engage in some spirited shenanigans in an all-new original special created specifically for Disney+. This will star Chris Pratt, Pom Clementif, Dave Bautista, Bradley Cooper, Vin Diesel, Kieran Gillen, Sean Gunn, and we've done the spoiler bumper already. So Mr. Kevin Bacon will be introduced to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is how they put it on the trailer.
As Kevin Bacon?
As Kevin Bacon, that's what they're crediting him as. And Maria Bakalova, who was in the second Borat movie, she will be playing Cosmo the dog. There's a Michael Rooker credit on IMDb. I'm not 100% sure if that's a reality or not.
Had Matt Murdock
Daredevil being in
like
six episodes of She-Hulk.
Yeah, so I'm just saying it's on IMDb. Sure. Scott, we'll start with you. What is your rating of this trailer, and what did you think of it?
I would give this trailer, a rating of, let's give it a 5 out of 6. That sounds pretty solid. It looked funny. I mean, it looks like the Guardians of the Galaxy having Christmas holiday fun. And Groot looked a little weird. Like teenage Groot looked kind of like buff or weird, and it made me wonder, like, so because they go to Hollywood, and then they're walking down Hollywood Boulevard, and no one thinks anything because it's Hollywood, and everybody looks weird anyway. So I wondered, were they going really meta? Was like there a version of like a Groot dress up person on Hollywood Boulevard? But I think it was just Groot. And then Kevin Bacon just shows up to be Kevin Bacon, and that is great. And so I'm very excited, and I really like the special presentation logo that they have at the beginning of this, and that they had at the beginning of Werewolf by Night, just all the glittery rainbowness. So 5 out of 6. I'm excited to watch this at the end of November, right? November 25th.
Yes, it is coming out right after Thanksgiving. You're correct.
Oh my goodness. I'll cook 3 turkeys and be stuffed to the brim and then watch Groot.
100%. Mark, I'll go next and I'll leave you for the next. I'm going to stick at the same rating, 5 out of 6, because my understanding of this, I kind of had a really low expectation of this. I was like, this is just happening, whatever, who cares? And for me, what makes this trailer is the showing of the plot, which is Kevin Bacon being the Christmas present. I think that's really clever. I think it's a great way to incorporate them coming back to Earth, especially with them kind of stepping away. This group appears to be stepping away after Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I'm glad they're giving us a little time on Earth. That's something I've always felt like. I know it's part about being in the galaxy. I just wanted a little bit of time on Earth. I hope this scratches that itch so the third Guardians of the Galaxy can go to all the corners and centers of space that they need to go to. I think my only kind of issue with it is that I want Gamora in it, and that might just be an unrealistic expectation. But that's for me why it's not a 6 out of 6. So, Mark, I'll pass it off to you.
I probably also would give it a 5 out of 6. I looked at it more of like the aspect of it, like, am I really excited for this to be a Christmas, like, or they call it holiday special, but like,
right, it's a Christmas movie,
like really like get my heart going about it being Christmas, or is it just going to be a goofy, mess around? And like seeing Kevin Bacon actually just be Kevin Bacon, which then makes me think, like, will there be a reference to Sebastian Shaw at all? Is that how we get the X-Men?
Sure.
He becomes Sebastian Shaw in the middle of this, because that'd be wild. If people don't know, he plays Sebastian Shaw in X-Men First Class. Kevin Bacon does. So
there's got to be a joke that James Gunn can pull off there.
Is he the one who directed this too?
Yeah, he directed and wrote it.
He actually took the joke with him to DC, so it's not.
The joke is now with DC. Sorry. This
was done last year, right? Like, this was supposed to come out last year.
Oh, I don't know that answer.
So anyways, I just wonder if this is like the original, like what we were going to get last year.
They filmed this as they were filming Volume 3, so it wasn't.
It was yes. So that is true, Scott.
Volume 3,
and it's set after Thor: Love and Thunder.
So, and then Thor: Love and Thunder is supposed to take place 2 or 3 years after Endgame, right?
Correct.
Isn't that right? Okay.
The timeline's all timey-wimey.
Yeah,
Though I
they're
did
gonna
like
have to-
so.
Well, it would actually technically be 3, Scott, because Thor gives an exact amount of time between when him and Jane Foster broke up.
She was like, it feels like more like 8 or 3. Yeah.
Right.
I was left with bated breath, like when they were like talking to the speaker. I'm like, whose house are they at? I thought they were going to be at David Hasselhoff's house, but they already used him in volume 2. So I was like, oh, Kevin Bacon. Of course that makes sense. So I really liked that.
Because Kevin Bacon's an Avenger, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting, right? Because they worked with the Avengers. Yeah, I guess I just want to see Gamora, but I think it's just too unrealistic of an
You
expectation.
just have to
for
wait
me.
till May of next year.
I know.
Gamora.
It feels weird to me. Whoa, we're playing music here.
Or in the quantum realm.
More like Galessa.
Let's transition over to Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. Thanks, Scott. Speaking of Scott Lang and Hope Van Dyne, along with Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne, will explore the quantum realm, where they interact with strange creatures and embark on an adventure that goes beyond the limits of what they thought was possible. This will be directed by Peyton Reed. Obviously, credit goes to Jack Kirby, the creator of this. Jeff Loveness is getting the screenplay credit, with Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, and a very, very dressed to the nines Jonathan Majors. Catherine Newton will be coming in as the new Cassie Lang. We get a shot of Bill Murray in this trailer. Michelle Pfeiffer is back. Michael Douglas is back. Credit right now is saying Randall Park will be coming back to this. Jimmy Woo will return in this. And then there's rumors that MODOK will be played by a lot of different people. The biggest one I've heard has been Corey Stoll, who is Darren Cross from Ant-Man 1. Let's talk about this trailer. It's a little
like he turns into MODOK.
That's what the rumor is.
I heard it was Jim Carrey.
That's a little bit.
I heard that MODOK was Bill Murray.
No, Bill Murray is definitely Krylar. That is an official credit.
Oh, I don't even know what a Krylar is.
Well, it would also be the first time Marvel has credited someone as one character and then it's revealed in the movie that they're not that character.
Like when they tried telling us that Benedict Cumberbatch wasn't Khan. He's like, no, he's a guy named John.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
kind of like
sounds
that.
good.
Sure.
Star Trek. Yeah.
Max would understand. He's not cultured like us.
Let's talk about this trailer, because there's a couple things in this trailer that I want to dive deep into. And one of them in particular is around the rings that are displayed. So obviously the comedy of this trailer is really strong. We're seeing Scott have some people that know him really well, and then other people who are calling him Spider-Man. We're seeing Cassie Newton playing his daughter in this. And my question to you guys is, 1, on a scale of 1 to 6, what's your rating of the trailer? And then if you could tell us, what is your rating of Jonathan Majors' introduction officially in a trailer as Kang? Because in Loki, he was not introduced specifically as Kang. He was introduced as the man who
remains, right? He
who remains. It was this vague name. It's obvious after you watch it, it's Kang. But Mark, I'll go to you. Tell me your rating of those two things: this trailer and the introduction of Jonathan Majors. Do you feel like this was pulled off by Marvel as a menacing villain?
Well, yes, I think it was. 6 is across the board for me. The thing I love about the trailer is the use of "Goodbye Yellow Brick Road" by Elton John through the whole thing. Like, I think that was great. But yeah, with Jonathan Majors being introduced as Kang, it like makes me like on two paths. Is this movie like we're really like, it was so like menacing but like also innocent, it felt to me. Like, is he what is he offering Ant-Man? What happens in this movie where Scott Lang's got to decide, do I partner with this guy? Like, has he seen him do some evil stuff, or is he trying to like what would be the word, like trick or manipulate Scott to help him, but actually it's going to be for something more sinister that Scott doesn't understand? So like, that's what I kind of got from the trailer, is like because there's a scene where like there's a bunch of like destruction behind Scott and it's like just him, I think. So I'm really, I'm torn to what is, like I told Max pre show, is Kang going to be the good guy here, or a perceived good guy, and then turn on him at the end, and that's kind of
like a Mysterio kind of almost how they did in Spider-Man 2.
Something like that, but probably with a bigger payoff.
I don't know, the poster of him holding the Ant-Man and Wasp in his hand was pretty sick. Also, it's good to see posters get away from the typical floating heads model. Scott, what's your thoughts around this?
I give this trailer a 6 out of 6. I thought they snuck it up on you, right? There's no, because sometimes like, and here's a trailer for the trailer, you'll see it tomorrow. Like I was just sitting at Panera drinking coffee, and I'm like, oh, there's a trailer to watch. You know, break out the AirPods, like watch right there. It looks so good, and into the Kang being intimidating. I was immediately, I'm scared of Kang. Like he, I was thinking about it. Like Thanos was great, right? Over the entire Infinity War saga, introducing at the end of Avengers, but Thanos is he's a blunt object, right? He just wants the stones. He's going to snap it. And he's going to, like, we even saw that in Endgame, right? He just wails on fools. Like he's just a blunt force object. Whereas Kang is just, he's got plan on top of plan on top of plan. Yeah, he is menacing. And so to go from he who endures or survives at the end of
He Who Remains, yeah.
He Who Remains, of just talking circles around Loki and I forgot her name. Dang it. Now I sound like misogynist because I can't remember.
Sylvie.
Sylvie.
Which one do you want?
Talking circles around them. And then just, like the couple words that he says in this, and just like the way that he looks, where he's all lit up, and Jonathan Majors is yoked and totally jacked. And I read the Kang Dynasty comic run from the Avengers. I think it was something. I think it was like 2008. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And just, this guy just plans on plans on plans on plans. And so I think he's a much different villain than Thanos, where Thanos, you're just scared of him because he's so big. And Kang is just so sinister and cunning.
That's why I think like this movie, he's going to look like the good guy right away. Because that's his plan. He wants to help Scott. And whatever he's helping Scott with, Kang might actually be the reason why Scott needs help. But he needs, some like trust, some bond formed. I don't know. Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm along for it.
I went from like, I'm excited about every move in the MCU because I'm a total mark, right? To, oh my gosh, this looks so
weird. 2 marks on one show. No, Mark, I'm gonna disagree.
Podcast will break off from the Infinity Rose. 2 marks and a max.
2 marks and a max. 2 marks and a max. In your face, Isaac. No, Mark, I'm actually going to disagree with you. I really don't think they're going to take any approach with Kang being perceived as good. I do think his big over-encompassing plan will not be displayed in this. I think it will be little bits and pieces that connect to several properties. And I want to talk about one of those properties here in a moment before I give my review. But I think for me, Jonathan Majors is so quintessential for this whole MCU phase 5 through however far they want to go. Because if you cannot match what they were able to accomplish with Thanos dating back all the way to the first Avengers movie in 2012 or 2010,
2012.
Oh, whatever year, that year. If you cannot accomplish
I know you guys
that,
were 13, but it was 2000.
Yeah. Well, Mark was watching Van Wilder when that happened. But if they can't accomplish a villain being overarching in every single property, this probably isn't going to work this time around. And I think Jonathan Majors has the acting chops. I think his physique, as you see in Creed 3, if you watch that trailer, he looks tremendous in that. And I think the costume design in for him in this movie looks great. I think the costume design for other people, the fact that they're comparing it to the Spy Kids 3D movie is actually very funny to me. And I do think it points out a couple weird flaws in it. That all being said, this trailer to me is a 5 out of 6 as well. I don't think
as well.
Here's my big dilemma with
6.
Excuse me?
You're the only one who gave a 5 out of 6, so it can't be.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying the reason I give it a 5 out of 6, I'm giving it a 6 out of 6 on Jonathan Majors. I think he can do it. I think how he looks and how they're showing him and the limited dialogue, I'm all for it. But in the context of this trailer, this movie is right now it's Kang, and that bothers me. I want to see more of Scott. I want to know more of the stakes. I know that gives away more of the plot point by saying what he is doing, but you've got to give us a little more. That second trailer is going to give it to us. So people like Scott who don't watch the second trailer aren't going to hear that. But to me, I really want to know. I think, tell me why are they in his hand? I want to know that. You don't have to tell me the outcome.
Why do you want to know that now 5 months before the movie comes out? Why don't you want to know that
I want
when you're watching the movie?
Max needs to know exactly what happens so he can go into the movie already disappointed or excited.
Shut up. No,
that was
I like
Doctor Strange, was it not?
No, that was not me in Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange was a genre movie that does not scratch an itch for me.
You go sifting through the internet, and then stuff gets spoiled for you, and then you're like, "Don't go on the internet, guys."
I accidentally got spoiled about the big. I did not even look for it; it just popped up.
It disappeared. The internet just came.
Yeah, I was out there. I was like, "Okay, who's in Doctor Strange 2?" No, I wasn't doing that. Anyway,
Max, your
moving
voice,
on.
When you like do your impersonation, you sounds exactly what I think you sound like. I mean, it's just it's uncanny, just dead on.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. No, I want to know more of what Scott's dilemma is in this because Mark, there is an audience and group of people that think he's going to die in this. Do you think that's a chance?
Paul Rudd
to kind of really set Kang apart and be like,
well, that's true.
Like to really be like, you know what? Kang is such a badass that he killed Paul Rudd, comedian Paul Rudd.
I think if anyone, the two trails of thought here. I go back to their whole agenda for like young heroes, and now you get a young villain, like at least actor wise, where it's like, how long are they planning to move these people up that you have these young heroes, young villain? How many years in the future are we going? With that, I would say yes. I think you probably might kill Ant-Man. I don't know why you would do it now in the third movie, where it's like, I just don't get. It better make sense and it better be purposeful if they do that. But if someone's getting killed, money's on Cassie.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Because I think that's because we're still going to the Broken Avengers thing and we still got time. What happens to Scott Lang if his daughter dies? Or not just dies, gets killed by Kang?
Yeah, you're not, because you can't.
Go towards?
That's a really good point. You can't take away powers from Scott because then he just goes to being popular. Like the only thing he really has in his life is his family. And we saw him go through that in Endgame, but his dilemma of where they were was more of a passing of time versus grieving Hope's loss, for example. That's interesting. That's an interesting arc. Scott, do you think there's a chance that Scott Lang dies in this?
Nah, because I mean, Paul Rudd wasn't clueless, you guys. Like he's just going to keep making movies forever and he'll be Ant-Man forever. But like if somebody's gonna die, I wouldn't say Cassie because I think they want to do Young Avengers stuff. But maybe Hope Van Dyne dies. That's interesting.
All three of us are taking different approaches of who they think.
It's gonna be Michelle Pfeiffer and we'll be sad.
That's true. Michelle Pfeiffer or Michael Douglas would be layups too, right? Because of their age and
or Kang.
They don't have to be contractually obligated to the rest of these movies.
Kang gets killed by Kang. Maybe.
Maybe.
There's all these Kangs out there.
Do you think there's a reference in this movie to Reed Richards?
Probably. They've got to start laying the groundwork for that Fantastic Four movie, and he's all quantum realmed out.
I don't know. I mean, I personally
think they disappeared in the 60s and nobody knows about him, and they show up. Maybe they show up at the end of this movie in the quantum realm. It's like there's John Krasinski looking all statuesque.
Does Loki appear in this movie? I just feel like I just feel like there has to be one hero. I don't know why.
You guys have sucked me into your Max and Mark just have outrageous. What about this? What about this? What if Godzilla shows up in this movie, you guys, and he just starts eating people?
Why can't Godzilla?
Yeah. It's a great point, Mark.
It's Kang holding Ant-Man the Wasp, and then Godzilla holding Kang at the same time.
And Mark, he's bigger than everybody else. That's what would make him such a formidable opponent for Kang.
Know who's holding Godzilla?
Beast is going to be in the movie.
Oh, there you go. There's the connection. No, Mark, I don't disagree with you. I think Marvel is saying the hero or extra person in this, because every movie's got to have somebody else. Like Thor has the Guardians, Doctor Strange had Wanda. I think Kang is that person. I think they introduced him in Loki, so everybody was like, he's here.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Here's the bad guy. I think Kang is that person for this movie. And I think the big misdirect will be whatever MODOK is. And I don't know if that's going to be Darren Stoll. I don't know if that's going to be somebody else we know, or he'll be comedic, or if he'll change sides. I don't know. But I think those are likely circumstances versus deaths of specific characters.
Look, I get it. You're lazy, and coffee from the grocery store is just as good as ordering from somewhere like Mini World's Tavern, right? Wrong! That's dumb, and you should feel so dumb for thinking that. Does your local grocery store donate a portion of their proceeds to charity? Actually, if they do that, that is kind of awesome. But we guarantee that Mini World's Tavern does that. Besides, it's not like your grocery store provides an amazing monthly blend with added RPG-themed bonuses. That's a limited edition Mini World's Tavern exclusive, baby. They are the online coffee brand that's perfect for game night. Guys, I should know. Before every podcast and every time I go live on Twitch, I fill an entire bathtub full of Great Old One, and I do my best Lord Harkonnen impression. Guys, grab a bag for yourself right now. Go to www.miniworldstavern.com/theinfinitybros, all one word. And guess what? You're going to save yourself 10% at checkout.
The last thing I want to talk about here with you guys is the rings that make up his buildings. If you look at them in comparison to the 10 rings from Shang-Chi, are eerily similar of the patterns. Do you think that this is kind of the direction that they're going? If so, what direction do you think Marvel is utilizing things like the bangle and Miss Marvel and the 10 rings that Shang-Chi is currently possessing? Scott, let's start with you.
Well, if they're doing anything, because at the end of Shang-Chi, right, they said that they're calling out to something.
Yeah, it's like a pulse.
Sending out a signal, and that's what Janet Van Dyne freaked out about, because Cassie made this thing that was sending a signal out to the quantum realm, and the quantum realm responded. So if anything, I think it's just that there's all these artifacts spread throughout the Marvel universe that are calling out to something, and maybe this is what we find out what that something is, and maybe Kang, in some iteration of himself as traveling through time, planted these things, so when they all came together with Kamala's bangles and with the 10 rings and whatever else is out there, it's like, now's my time to show up and take over this planet, destroy it, subject its people. Who knows? But it could be something great. Like in that Kang Dynasty comic book run, like there's this great scene at the end that they can't have because he's dead or not in the MCU anywhere. But it's like like speaking of giant Godzilla, it was like giant Godzilla like Kang versus giant Captain America, and it was some awesome panels. So hopefully in Kang Dynasty we get a giant version of somebody fighting a giant.
Just remember this, Scott. In Endgame, there was a scene when they're trying to travel through time, and Hulk travels time through Scott, making him younger. Old Man Cap exists. Therefore, hypothetically, same thing can happen to Old Man Cap.
They're totally doing that. I subscribe with you, Mark.
On him.
I'm with you on that, Mark. 100%.
Mark, do you have like a manifesto of all of just your crazy thoughts, like arranged from like not going to happen to not going to happen, but maybe?
On a scale of 1 to 6, he's got this manifesto just
7.
ready to go. A couple
I just
sevens
pull
out
out this
there.
like giant binder, like, yep.
Speak of the devil.
Let me show you my wall behind me with all of my notes and stuff.
Actually, when you blacklight the paper wall, all the notes are there.
Looks like a Jackson.
It's like the Riddler
back there.
Yeah. Yep.
Mark, I've sent you a couple of theories and thoughts on this from people. I personally think I'm subscribing to the theory that these rings are parts of his ship or his chair, the Kang chair, that allow him to travel through space and time and different universes. I am subscribing to that. I think Shang-Chi totally is going to have that. And I think Shang-Chi is going to be the way that they're going to travel through time. I think we'll see in Miss Marvel that the bangles are what transport people through space. And then the 10 rings will each either individually will have individual abilities and characteristics, or all together in unison with the bangle and whatever other item. I'm sure there's other items out there can do this big thing that Kang is looking to achieve. And I would assume he does it in some way to make Kang Dynasty happen. That's my theory.
Do you think at the end of Secret War or Kang Dynasty, She-Hulk throws Kang into our world to fight Kevin?
That would be really fun. I don't hate that.
And then Kevin has
you just know the collective majority of mouth breathing guys who hate She-Hulk right now are just like, oh my gosh, The eye cancer that is She-Hulk.
Less eye cancer, more eye candy. Shut up, dudes.
Oh,
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah, bros.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Misogyny.
Yeah. Any other theories, Mark, before we transition over to Black Adam?
Over under 6 times Scott makes a joke.
Over. Higa or Ant-Man?
Ant-Man, Scott Lang.
Oh, yeah, 6. Yeah,
over under 6 magic tricks Randall Park's character does.
Under, but if you set it at 3.5, that'd be the bet that you got to take. I think 3.5. Then I'm going to take the under because I think it's going to be 3 on the dot.
Who do you think would better chance of them showing up in this movie? Black Widow or Gamora? Or I'll throw a wild card. A Fox character property.
Character property.
Okay. Like someone.
Yeah, give me Fox character over the other two for sure.
Like, does Deadpool like have a glimpse in this movie?
Yeah, maybe.
All right.
It'd be great if Deadpool was one of the wielders of one of those like items. Wouldn't that be hilarious?
Like
that
how
would be
he gets
so
involved.
awesome.
Like his sword is like one of those things.
That'd be great. Black Adam. This movie just came out last week, October 21st. We're recording on the 26th. Nearly 5,000 years after he was bestowed with the almighty powers of the Egyptian gods and imprisoned just as quickly, Black Adam is freed from his earthly tomb, ready to unleash his unique form of justice on the world. This is directed by Jean Colette Serra. Sorry ahead of time. Adam Steitzkel, Rory Haynes, stars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Black Adam, Aldous Hodge as Hawkman, Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate, Noah Centineo as Adam Smasher, Sarah Shahi as Adriana Tamaz, Quintessa Swindle as Cyclone, Marwan Kenzari, as Ishmael, and I believe he's credited as the King as well. Am I correct on that?
Probably. Just with some weird.
I'm about 99% sure I saw that after the movie, that he played the King in the flashback as well. And then Samir was played by James Kisati Moyer. That was the kid, Samir. So this movie came out. We all saw this, and we're going to break it down today. Mark, we're going to start with you. What was your rating of Black Adam as the residential DC expert?
As a movie, 5 out of 6. I feel like 20 minutes could have been shaved from this movie, in my opinion. Having said that, I really enjoyed the actual pardon my French, ass kicking Black Adam gave a lot of people.
Sure.
I really appreciated that out of all the movies and TV shows I've watched, someone's actually like, hey, you know what? Let's have a conversation, not just kick each other in the face and then let chaos ensue. Like there was actually like, hey, let's talk about this. Why is, and then, another good thing, why is Aldous Hodge now just appearing in a superhero movie? Like, I want more I was gonna say Black Hawk, Hawkman in my life with him playing it. Like, give me more Justice Society movies. That's what we need. Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate, can't get enough of him. Another thing that gives me another 5 out of 6 is, with everything happening with Black Adam showing up, and then the villain at the end. Why didn't the Flash show up? Why didn't Superman show up? Also, this Condac's on the sea, so why didn't Aquaman show up? There's a lot of bad juju happening here, and no one shows up. That's my big gripe when we are an established world with superheroes, and no one else shows up. Besides,
that's not really fair in the context of Marvel movies and properties either. You got to make that argument in every one of those, then.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, that's fine.
It's and what was it? The second Spider-Man movie makes a good point. Off-world, unavailable. At least we got something like that.
Yes. give me some communication as to
But
why
see, like
they're
where I
not
go
there.
to that is like in Hawkman's ship, there's that computer that's like is able to detect threats. So assuming that happens, Batman must also have that.
100%.
So you're telling me he couldn't be like, hey, Aquaman, you gotta go check this out because there's some stuff happening. But, you know, to digress though, I still enjoyed this movie as like an action movie, a superhero movie. I thought it was great. But I think I have a little more gripes because I'm a DC fan. But, you know, I'm okay with what they do with Kondak and his origin story. I loved basically the villain at the end of Sabat, and I like, are we going to get some demon fighting Dark Justice League down the line? So I'm excited. I'm all in.
I think Scott just got scared like real time. I think we really saw him get scared.
Yeah, you really did. You should clip that one.
That's awesome.
So, can I see that, Clara? So
that's great.
My daughter. Oh, you'll wind it up. I'll just show them. So she brought in this thing. It says rattlesnake eggs, total gag, and then you open it and it like it's a little rubber band with a thing. So it really did freak me out. So you got me, Clara.
Nice job, Clara.
Good job.
I want to make sure I credit this correctly. Boji Sabongui, excuse me, as Aman. I was incorrect. He is the teenage young man. Is Aman his name? I'm going to go next and let Scott go last. Mark, I'm on the complete opposite spectrum of you in this viewing experience. I liked parts of this movie, and so certain parts for me were significantly better, but my gripes are just more around the filmmaking than about the story. The story is, in my opinion, the most paint by numbers story outside of the twist at the end. Okay, that wasn't a terrible twist, but in the context of they try really, really hard to make this more of a Marvel movie than most DC movies that are serious. Or Shazam is kind of a comedy is what I would say. This movie, like, they're trying to force some jokes in. The Rock mailed it in on this. I
would say some jokes, like I agree with you. Some jokes landed and some were just like, that really wasn't right timing. I'm with you on that.
No, I get what you're saying. The jokes were just like, and I'm like, look, give me more jokes in superhero movies. I love it. I'm all for it. I think it's the direction DC needs to go. The writing just wasn't there on this. And The Rock mailed it in. This was not a good performance by The Rock. And he looked bored. I couldn't believe watching him stay in like one tone the whole movie. It was difficult for me to process that.
That's Black Adam as a character, though.
That's an argument you could make. I think if you're going to display and convey that I'm mourning the death of my son and my people, and I have been resurrected in the way that he was, I would like to see a little more of the mourning process. That's just my opinion on that. I think this child actor was awful. The kid that plays him on. I cannot stress how bad this kid was.
At the beginning was painful.
He is obnoxious.
The parts that you could scrape out to make it a shorter movie are basically his parts.
They were trying to connect. The goal going into this was that the kid would be the humanity part for Black Adam to latch onto. Incorrect direction. Go with the girl. Go with the woman and lean into her. She's the one who brought you into the world. They don't have to fall in love. I know that's like a tempting piece of the puzzle as well, probably. But you do not need this kid on his stinking skateboard going all around. It was so obnoxious. It was brutal. It was painful. His lines, the cheese factor was insane.
In my opinion.
Say it again.
Like, I would say his performance is way worse than what you say The Rock's performance is.
I just think The Rock did not give what I was, for a guy that's been like saying, this is the movie, this is my crowning jewel. He is either not a good actor, which could be a possibility, or he did not give nearly as much as we thought he was going to give, because it just did not feel like he was giving much. The other thing that's like wild to me about this movie, Mark, is that the Justice Society was tremendous. Like, right? Not good, great. They were all great. They were all awesome. Their power skill set was great. The Dr. Fate stuff was awesome. Absolutely tremendous. Pierce Brosnan was unbelievable. If they went with some movie about his character previous to this experience, I would be all in on watching it. I'm going to let other stuff. We'll talk about the other details in a bit here. We'll talk about the connection at the end as well. But this felt like a couple different movies wrapped into one. That's my problem. I feel like this was a Justice Society movie wrapped in with what right. The Rock wanted, wrapped in with we got to connect it to Shazam somehow because they got to go against him one day. Connected to, you know what? We're bringing Superman back, so we got to connect it there with Amanda Waller and Suicide Squad.
Henry
It's
Cavill.
Yeah, this is
okay. Yeah, so let's,
I get you. But let me rate it, then I'll get Scott, and then we'll talk.
And Scott, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I want to get Scott his moment.
I'm too giddy now. You said
I know. There's things I like, but the biggest gripes are the story writing, The Rock, and the kid is 1 out of 6, no question. The Rock, I'll give more of a 3 out of 6 because his presence alone is Black Adam in that regards. But he is going to have to clean up this acting if he's going to hang with the other guys that are up there in this universe. There's some really good actors in this universe. So I'm going to sit at a 3 out of 6. It's to quote Robbie, this movie is mid. However, there are some things set up in the future that I like. So I'll give it to Scott now. Go ahead, Scott.
So what's your rating?
My rating is 3 out of 6.
3 out of 6. Okay.
3 out of 6 is my rating of this movie.
I too would give it a 3 out of 6, but not. I guess, like Isaac always makes fun of me because I always rate movies on my show. And I think I even talked about it when I talked about Black Adam. I go from bad's 1 rating, fine is my other rating. And then the other one is good. I mean, there's not a lot of middle ground. So for me, it was fine. I think that, there wasn't much going on with The Rock's character, but I just appreciated that he wasn't playing The Rock. I think that was
that is true. Yes.
That he stretched himself to not be Dwayne Johnson. Like he wasn't playing the same character that he plays in Fast and Furious, or I'm sure the Jumanji movies, which I haven't seen. Like he was something different, which was very interesting to see that, The Rock can do something different. There wasn't a lot of range in the different that he did, but it was different, which I appreciated. I thought the action was fine. I thought the kid was annoying. Like you, Mark, I thought they could have trimmed a couple minutes off. I mean, when Hawkman and Black Adam fought again, I just thought, oh my goodness, like I don't like this already happened. And does Hawkman, like Mark, does Hawkman have powers? Like, are those wings a part of his body? Does he have a suit?
So like, I don't know if they took liberties in the movie, like changing up, but like I know Hawkman is like his powers are like, I'm blanking, like almost kind of like Egyptian, like it's like a gift to him. So like, he's just like, as you saw, like when he first gets it, that just pops out of him. And the whole thing when they said he was going to die, too, it's like, well, in DC, like he just gets reborn as Hawkman.
Exactly.
So it's like, to me, it's like, that didn't seem like a big thing, but it seemed like a very, absolute like thing. Like he dies, he's done. But
yeah, like it seemed like Black Adam is knocking down buildings and he punches Hawkman and Hawkman's like, all right, I'll fly it off.
So, and that's why. So, like, that's why he's able to fight Black Adam because he also has mystical powers. Okay, and that's, Black Adam's weakness.
That's what I was wondering. Like, is this a suit like Falcon or has he got special powers? Right.
No. It's the suit's like kind of like, I'm not 100% sure in that lore, but like almost like it chose him, kind of like the helmet chooses fate.
Well, and it's a bit of a nerdy take to go like, you know what, if he dies, it's not the worst possible thing. Right? Like he's just going to come back. Like, however,
but that's a lot to explain in,
correct.
Well,
that's a lot to explain in an already
like,
very,
to me, when that happens, I was like, that's so
that's what I thought too, Mark. Thank you. That's exactly what I thought. I was like, okay, but here's
but clearly that's not the case there. He's like, I don't know that. Let's not let that happen.
Don't. Well, I actually wanted them to kill Hawkman because, like you said, Max, Pierce Brosnan was the best part of this movie
by a mile. He stole every scene he was in.
I would say him, like to me personally, him and Hawkman, those like that's what I wanted more of. I wanted
Aldous Hodge was great. Yeah,
he was great, but he was pretty light. I mean, he's a supporting character, so he doesn't have to have a lot of depth character. He was like, I'm gonna stop you. I'm gonna stop you again. Okay. I'm gonna stop you, Devil Man.
Him in the suit, sure, but him out of the suit, like I wanted more of that.
Yeah.
Like,
But
Where
I just feel
where
like-
they dropped the ball for Aldous Hodge in this movie is they had him say in 5 different ways, killing people is not what a hero does.
Right.
Okay, we get it. You're talking about it. Let's get into the nitty gritty and show it. Let's go. And I think Aldous Hodge did the absolute best he could with the script he was given. He's tremendous. If they don't go a Hawkman movie after this, Mark, explaining all the stuff we're talking about, shame on them, because
and
Aldous
they even
Hodge
introduced
would
like
crush it.
Hawkgirl and like other Justice Society stuff.
Yes.
Okay, so
Additionally, let's go back to Pierce Brosnan real quick, because I do want to spend some time on him. Pierce Brosnan, I mean, do you think it's a shame that they killed him in this? Because now you can't do anything in the future with him outside of a prequel?
Here's the thing. He apparates like his other things do. So to me, it's like, did he really die? Or like, did he want to retire type of thing?
But still, like, do we like, not that DC is the best at like getting their plan executed correctly. And
Robbie's
not that I have
so
delusions of
this.
grandeur that he'd make a trilogy after this.
And
but
a villain that's killed.
Sure.
But you're right. Like, why kill him? Like, why?
Why did they kill him? I don't understand. The stakes didn't.
And the stakes didn't matter because they still brought Black Adam back. Where it's like, why didn't?
Oh, don't even get. We're going to talk about that in a second.
Why if that was Dr. Fate's idea, why didn't he apparate when he thought about that?
Yeah.
To Hawkman to be like, hey, you know what? Don't let him Shazam himself. Keep him as Black Adam. We're going to need him. Like, then that just eliminates the Task Force X bunker.
I want to talk about the characters, then I want to talk about those moments. We'll come back to that. That part requires significant conversation. So we talked about the Pierce Brosnan. Anything to add, Scott? I know you've talked about him already, but
like he was freaking James Bond, right? And then so you plant somebody like he was Remington Steele in the 80s. Like Pierce Brosnan has been a massive movie star for decades, and you drop him in this movie. He doesn't have that much to work with the script or the story, but he managed to freaking shine so much brighter than anybody else. Like, right? It's like you watch a Mission Impossible movie, and Tom Cruise is insane, right? But when you see him on screen, there is something about him. Like, that guy is a freaking movie star. And that's how I felt every time Pierce Brosnan was on the screen. He was just so good. I loved
What's interesting, Scott, about that scene.
About Dr. Fate. Like, at all,
sure.
I know zero. But I'm like, this is the most interesting character. And he's so good.
What I like about that scene, that I know when they fight again. Yeah. What I liked about that scene wasn't them fighting. It was Pierce Brosnan's portrayal of just like he's sitting there, like he's kind of speaking on behalf of the audience a little bit and saying like, this is a waste of your guys' time. Yeah. We're wasting time. This is ridiculous. We got to get this together. I felt like that scene was okay. There was other scenes that were ridiculous too. Let's talk about Quintessa Swindle, who plays Cyclone. My word, how they conveyed her powers in this was absolutely magical, Mark. Absolutely magical. DC absolutely crushed 6 out of 6 the Justice Society portrayal of their superpowers and how they were doing things and how they all 4 work together. She is tremendous in this. Very great. I was kind of laughing because I was like, you know what? They kind of Ironheart's a different skill set, but if they're going for like the smartest girl in the room with Ironheart, I think DC might have just beaten them to the punch with that. Yeah. Smartest young girl to punch. I think they might have just done that. What were your thoughts on Quintessa Swindle as Cyclone?
I went into this just blind, basically. Like, I didn't know what to expect. And yeah, I would just piggyback on everything you said. It's like, knocked it out of the park. I think the shining parts of this whole movie is the Justice Society. Like, what they did there is what I think what people are going to want more of. And I'm sure when, you look at the Rotten Tomatoes score where it's like the critics say it sucks and the audience is like, oh no, man, this like kicked butt. You're going to talk heavy about the Justice Society. Like, that's what we'll want. And I thought exactly, every time she went and like used her powers, even with like, I almost said Black Adam. I mean, everyone's going to be black something, I guess, for characters. For Atom Smasher, like the visual representation they did, I think was pretty good in this movie.
Her dancing was beautiful too, just tremendous. Scott, your thoughts?
Samesies. I thought, again, know nothing about Cyclone, know nothing about the character's power set, but the way it's portrayed on screen, I thought, wow, that looks really, really cool. And her hair was flying everywhere and it was all colorful. I mean, we're I mean, since Batman 1989, since Superman in 1978, 79, we're a long time in these superhero movies. So for something to pop up that looks really, really cool that you hadn't seen before is pretty awesome. That's like the one.
I think all four of them did, Scott. I think all four of them did it. Even Adam Smasher.
Yeah.
And Adam Smasher being played by Noah Centineo. First off, the cameo of Henry Winkler as the older Adam Smasher was
great.
Chef's kiss, brilliant call, great choice. 6 out of 6 that. Noah Centineo, here's something I think some people are going to say. Do we think it was kind of trying to play on a lighter version of Deadpool with how he looked in his mask, and that he was being a comedy the whole time? Or were you able to disassociate that? Because the mask to me was Deadpool. It was like, oh my word, it's just Deadpool with a blue shade. His jokes are different. They're not the same shade of Deadpool, but the look of the mask is pretty identical to me. And I think people were talking about it when this first trailer came out, but I didn't give much thought to it till I saw the movie. What were your thoughts, Mark, on that?
Well, in the comics, he like has a similar suit. So I think it's just like, it goes back to my thought about, She-Hulk breaking the fourth wall is like, well, people are just going to say, oh, Deadpool has done it first because it's in the movies. Same thing is going to be here. It's just,
right.
Deadpool did it first. So like everyone's going to compare it to Deadpool, even though
you didn't think Deadpool though when you saw it?
I mean, yes, there's some similarities. It's the eyes. It's the eyes portion. That's the similar part. But I mean, how different can you make a bodysuit look?
I agree. Just more curious if that invaded your reviewing experience.
In the comics, no. I mean, I heard comparisons before I saw this movie, but in the comics, he has like the blue like head covering with white eyes. So, I mean,
Scott, what about you?
I thought that's like Ant-Man, because Ant-Man gets really big. And then I thought with the mask, so I'm like, the mask, like, it's a cloth mask. I don't know if it does anything for his power set. So all I thought in that is like, oh, they put a mask on him because it's really hard to CGI a giant face. And so it's much easier to CGI a big blue face. But I didn't know that that's what his costume looks like in the comics. It's really weird to go into these movies having like zero knowledge about the comics. Because when they go to a Marvel movie, I know a lot of things, right? Or, like, have general knowledge. But to watch them like, who's this character? Is that what their power set is? I don't know. It's so, I guess I feel like a normal person going in without, this encyclopedic knowledge like our friend Mark here.
Yeah, well, for me, it's just Hawkman and Dr. Fate. Everything else was like brand new to me.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
I feel like I've talked about this with my beautiful wife, Kelly, where it's like, if you know nothing about some of these like movies or comic book stuff, it's like, you're going to be like, oh, they're just like you said, Scott, they're copying Ant-Man. They're copying.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like, so everybody has a guy that grows huge. That's not anything original.
Yeah. Even though it's probably, Adam Smasher might have been first. I don't know the timeline on that. But it doesn't matter. It's like, who was in the movies first? That's what matters. And that's why there's the argument to be made, be like, use the toys in the toy box that everyone knows, because otherwise this comparison stuff happens. Or, do a character that hasn't been done on the other side. So that's why I think where Hawkman was so different. And then in Dr. Fate's situation, it's like, there's Doctor Strange, but Dr. Fate wears a helmet and it like possesses him, and then it's also Pierce Brosnan who like kicked it out of the park, so that leads some stuff there. So
I'm calling him Hawk Guy, like
Hawk Guy,
like that's all.
Well, and for me, I did not think he was Deadpool, Mark. That's not the point I'm making. I just was more of like, oh wow, that's like way more like the Deadpool movie than I thought this was going to be like. Because when I saw the trailers, for whatever reason, that just didn't click with me. All that being said, Adam Smasher was a breath of fresh air in this movie. His whimsical approach to life and his lack of experience, and Aldous Hodge saying "you and me" later, those jokes worked for me. Mm-hmm. Adam Smasher hitting on Quintessa Swindle's Cyclone was hilarious. Those were the jokes that I was like audibly laughing in the theater. I really enjoyed that.
I'm happy they still gave Cyclone a little bit of red hair, because Hollywood's just eliminating redheads.
We're back on the redhead comment. Yeah, we get it. We get it.
I see Nicole Kidman every time I watch a movie, Mark. They're not getting rid of redheads.
Well, they're going to keep one that everyone will remember. Look at this freak show over here.
No, I've got to edit again. Here we go. I got to edit again.
We got to edit out calling Nicole Kidman a freak show.
No, we'll keep that if you want. You want to attach yourself to that, Scott? We'll keep it.
I was in love with Nicole Kidman when I saw Batman Forever.
Right.
I'm sure you were.
I was like 5 or 6, but
I was 13, and it solidified my feelings that I was into women.
Mark, what did you? We're gonna move on. Mark, what did you think of the Council of Wizards transforming Shazam in the beginning? Transforming Octon in the beginning of the movie, and it's basically this callback to the Shazam movie with what's going on there. Was that exciting to you? Did you enjoy that sequence? I did, but I thought you did. What do you thought?
It made me actually want to go back and watch Shazam. I have not seen that since seeing it in theaters.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and with all that said, like Shazam's one of my favorite DC characters, or Captain Marvel.
Yes,
the original Captain Marvel.
True.
Because I had such a sour taste of that movie because it wasn't what I expected. But my wife Kelly loved it because it's like, oh, this is more like a Marvel movie. It's like funny and actually enjoyable, not dark the whole time. But yeah, that scene I was like, yep, appreciated it, and it's like, okay, I think I should go back and watch Shazam. So
I kind of was worried that there wouldn't be some connection to Shazam, and I don't know why I thought that coming into this. Because I guess my thought in this going was like, all right, is DC just going to make a solo movie with Black Adam and that's it? But this connecting point should have really been the telltale sign that like, okay, this is connected to the greater DC universe and whatnot. What did you think? So let's go to this. We talked about this earlier. The scene where they send him down into the water bunker where we get the character, forgive me, I'm forgetting her name right now, from
James Gunn's wife.
Is that his wife?
Amelia Harcourt, Jennifer Holland. Yeah, they just got married.
Really? Okay, well, there you go. Thank you, Scott.
A lot more of her in the DCEU.
Seriously,
her and Michael Rooker are showing up a lot.
It's not the DCEU anymore, Scott. It's just DC Universe.
Is it?
Sure.
Yep, that was an announcement a couple days ago, or maybe it was yesterday, where
just DC Universe.
The DCEU is dead, and it's now just DC Universe.
Yeah.
So the DCU.
It's no longer extended.
DCU's fine. I like DCU. That's a better way to put it anyway, in my opinion. But yeah, she's down there. So you're connecting to Peacemaker. You're connecting to the Suicide Squad. Those parts felt actually much smoother in terms of connection points, in my opinion. But you get this total scene in the middle of the movie, Mark, and this is probably my biggest gripe in this movie, where it feels like the movie's done.
Right?
Like the movie felt done at that point.
I was like, all right, this is how it ends.
Yeah, me too. I was like, here we go. And I thought, okay, the sequel will be what happened in the third act of this movie.
Yeah.
Which is the Legions of Hell summon Sabak to terrorize Kahndaq. And it's like, did you feel this scene was important? Like, in my opinion, Mark, they could have gotten rid of this entire scene.
I 100% agree with you. I think this has to be the reshoot stuff, right?
I have never seen a movie where I'm going, the third act could have all been gone. This is the first time I've ever said that.
I don't know, man. It's
real talk, Mark. Like they could have gone into completely other territories. The stuff you were talking about with Justice Society, they could have said, all right, here's where we go from here with them.
There was a whole point. It was like, they're gonna end this movie without Black Adam being around. Like the Justice Society's just gonna defeat Sabak and like that's it. That's what I really thought was gonna happen.
Yeah,
really? You thought that was gonna happen?
Yeah, because I was like, well,
as soon as they stuck that thing in the Rock's mouth, I'm like, well, that's coming out in 20 minutes. It was a long time to get to that third act.
Well, it was a long
just sitting
time
there
to get
waiting.
there, but
I was like, all right, when's he gonna pull that out of his mouth and say Shazam? And
I'm just like surprised. Like, why did we need to go back to Amanda Waller with all this crap? Like, why couldn't we?
That is the weird thing that she is persisting throughout the DCU now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, she has so much power, apparently, that she's able to summon the Justice Society. She is, like, demanding them go get Black Adam. And even at the end,
how many teams is she in control of? I thought it was just the Suicide Squad.
She's not in control of the Justice League for sure. I think maybe that's your answer, Mark, as to why they weren't there.
Well, is the Justice League even there? Is that even established?
Yeah, and the other thing is this: like, you get the scene where he's in Amon's room, and it's all the Superman stuff, and he obviously, he lightning bolts Superman's face. You got all the Batman stuff, and this is one of the things that DC does in these movies that just drives me nuts. They're like, "Oh, Superman and Batman are in this universe." Ha 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 ha. Here they are. They're in this universe.
Cyborg
and Wonder Woman. They're all in this universe. Ha 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 ha.
Merchandise in that.
Yeah, it's like it's this coy thing where they're like, "Yep, they're part of it," but they don't know how to connect it efficiently, and it just feels crass and so patronizing to see it on screen.
And it
it's
feels
just
really
like
weird because I think that, you guys didn't like Miss Marvel that much, but right, it feels earned that there's an Avengers con because everybody in the world knows that this group of Avengers saved the world. Does anybody know that the Justice League went to Buttholistan and stopped whatever happened? Like,
no,
Buttholistan.
And so, why would there be lunchboxes of Superman? Maybe Superman.
I agree.
Well,
I agree.
With that said, they're in which movie was it? Either
the bad Justice League or the bad 4-hour Justice League. Which one?
Well, both of them, and then I think Dawn of
the
Justice.
4-hour one was good. Leave him alone.
Even the Dawn of Justice one, we see scenes where there's merchandise being sold. So there is.
Well, and in Man of Steel, in my opinion, you can sell that Superman's the real deal because of what happens in Man of Steel.
He does.
Take that for what you want.
He does save a global catastrophe, but
that's a big deal. I can live with those Superman stuff.
People and put this guy in your lunchbox.
Exactly. He's
not
100%.
Murdering good people. He's murdering bad people.
And also, this is another reason. This is another reason I hated him on. It's like
because he sucks.
He's like, you Americans come in here and mess everything up. It's like, dude, you are a superhero fanatic. You should be over the moon that these guys are here.
Right.
He does not get to be the person that makes that claim.
Maybe the Justice Society is like the Yankees to him. Like, you either love him or hate him. Like, if it was Justice League,
then say it. Then show me that. Then show me that. Then he should have given a line of like, well, you're not the Justice League.
Yeah.
That would have been a great
You're
line.
not Superman. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that should have been.
Yeah, that's what he should have said. The kid was obnoxious. He was so brutal. Oh my gosh.
And forced.
So
it was
brutal.
just like, and the whole movie could have been avoided. And like this mom is like wants to protect her son, but then gives him the evil crown.
Couldn't believe it.
Oh my gosh! What if he got killed with that crown? Then he becomes Sabak.
Yeah, the whole idea for the Justice Society and Black Adam was that they were going to take this MacGuffin, which was going to bring hell on earth to this guy, and their idea was, we're going to exchange hell on earth for this kid. Come on.
Confirm. Max would let the child die.
That one, maybe.
That kid, yeah.
That kid, maybe. Not gonna lie to you. Hell on earth.
It was hell on earth when he was
hell on
screen.
earth.
It was just awful.
And apparently, the hell on earth was pretty easy to kill. I mean, you just needed like a.
Okay, see, things that were totally unnecessary. That was so dumb. All like these hell beasts, like what do I care? That was so bad.
Brutal.
It reminded me so much of the Hellboy remake, where it's just like if you've seen it, where it's like these demons are summoned, and then all of a sudden, like 5 minutes later, they're just destroyed because they were just solved it.
Because I had a baseball bat and a lead pipe. That was like the worst game of Clue ever. It was all the people with the lead pipe in the city square, and all the demons.
Kill him,
yeah. This garbage. Get out of here.
Where was DDP, man? That's what
He was doing yoga, so he wasn't available.
Apparently, he's a really good yoga.
Mark, I can't believe you gave this a 5 out of 6. If you want to backtrack, now's your chance.
I'm not going to backtrack. Overall, like movie wise, great. I had fun.
I have one more really thing that
You're telling me you didn't have fun seeing Black Adam rip Sabak in half?
That was pretty.
That was cool. Yeah.
I really hated, like, speaking of derivative and stealing from other movies that have probably already done it before, but the scene where Black Adam was moving really fast and everything was slowed down. All I could think of were the Quicksilver scenes from X-Men Days.
Oh yeah,
past. And it was just like, and they're even playing like a pop song. It was just all I think is like
brutal.
Evan Peters did this better. All I want is some
not necessarily
Frank
Evan Peters, the production
Frank
team.
Boner?
Ralph Boner.
Ralph Boner. Sorry.
I do like how they visually show
Hashtag
him
boner
moving
talk
that fast.
for Max.
Yeah, hashtag boner talk, but not the way you think it's spelled.
For Max.
Mark, just say what you need to say so we can move on.
I was just saying, I did like how they made him look when he was moving fast. I like that visual representation they did.
It was the same as Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Like it was the same speed level of like you could see literally the sound waves move.
Yep.
Speaking of Man of Steel, Mark, as much as I would say this movie's mid, this post-credit scene is incredible. 6 out of 6. Seeing our boy Henry Cavill back, and
I thought right away Amanda Waller meant the Green Lantern Corps. Because she said, we got people from space.
So you didn't know about this? You did not know about this post-credit scene?
No, not at all. Dude, I was
okay. I've known about this.
You made it to yesterday and didn't know about it?
Good for you, Mark. I've known about this for a long time.
When movies come
Good for
out,
you.
I don't look for them. I don't be like, hey.
Well, no, they were, Variety was because Variety was reporting, Mark, about Henry Cavill coming back to the DCEU. At the time it was EU.
Yeah,
now it's DCU.
Coming back, I heard that stuff. I didn't know he was going to be in the movie.
They were talking about it. They were like saying, he's in the post-credit scene.
Video, he's like, you seen Black Adam and I'm British.
Well, see, I didn't.
Yeah, and The Rock said it on tour too, Mark. The Rock was saying it openly in interviews.
Stuff. I know movies coming out. I go completely dark on that stuff. I don't look for it. I'm not you. And like, hey, Doctor Strange 2, does Reed Richards show up?
No, that's not what I looked up. That's not.
Does Captain Britain show up? Oh my gosh, they're all showing up. I'm ruined for this movie. Whose fault is this? It's not mine. It must be Jared's
It's an interview. It's an interview. It's literally an interview for The Rock talking about the movie. And he openly speaks about it. And people are like, so apparently he's in the movie.
Yeah, no.
Like, you don't just look for that. I had no understanding of this till like a week or two ago that he was even going to be back.
How did you see the video? The video just showed up on your.
It's what? On my Twitter. It just scrolled up on my Twitter. Yes.
So
people I follow
on Twitter when stuff is going on. Well, maybe you shouldn't follow them, Max, when stuff doesn't get ruined.
Well, Mark, it was an open interview from Variety. What, like, you want me to?
I don't follow Variety. I don't know what.
I'm not saying I should. I'm not saying you should follow Variety, but I'm saying that's a publishing news source.
Yeah, maybe
that is like showing videos of that. I'm just saying that is not looking for spoilers.
So
that is just them reporting.
3 out of 6 because you've been like forensically evaluating this movie and like.
No, I'm forensically evaluating the movie, the post-credit scene. Whether I know the information or not, 6 out of 6. Our boy's back.
Yeah,
our boy's back, and that's all that matters.
After all our bickering, he's back.
He's back. Praise be. Let's go. We're finally getting it.
Get a Man of Steel 2 movie because
do we want Snyder back for it?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
I think so too. I'm with you. I want Snyder back for the second.
So I finished watching this movie. I came home and started watching Man of Steel.
Yeah,
because Man of Steel is grossly underrated. I texted you, Max. It's just so, good.
The movie was so good that I remember, I told my dad, we're gonna go. My dad doesn't like going to see movies, but you have to come see this movie because I think you'll enjoy it. And
I cry every time I watch Man of Steel. It is, in my opinion, aside from, obviously the Passion of the Christ, the most accurate depiction, in my opinion, of thematically who Christ is. I really believe that. Somebody who loves people so much that he is willing to go to the ends of the earth to save them. I just love it. I eat it up, Mark. I'm 100% with you. Give me Snyder back. Let's let bygones be bygones. I think if James Gunn can get that guy in a room and go, what do you want to do? I want to make this movie like this. Cool. Let's do it.
Well, they made Dawn of the Dead.
We will go.
So they've got a relationship.
Well, that exactly, Scott. He's coming back. If James Gunn's in charge, he's like, I'm getting Zachy Boy back.
Yeah.
And we're gonna make some magic again. And it's gonna be.
And that means Affleck's coming back too.
Zack Snyder can make great movies, but he shouldn't have been the one setting the entire direction for the DC.
Exactly.
However, I will argue this, and this has been heavily publicized. When Zack Snyder was making that movie, they were going through corporate changes, and there were so many hands in the cookie jar. And then he had also personal things talking about the Justice League movie.
Yeah,
he had the same way. There was too many people involved with that portion where it's I think if it was you take it all away, I think we would have got a different movie than what we got 5 years later with Zack Snyder's Justice League. I think the vision would have been more concise and better And I think we potentially still might have or a current like DCU timeline in a different world. But now that we have two leaders, and we're gonna take, and they're probably gonna be like, hey, you know what? We're not gonna let everyone that has the higher title have input on this. We're just gonna let these directors go. And I think that's why Marvel and Disney is so much more successful with their movies because of that. Let Daddy Feige do daddy things and let the Daddy Marvel just be magnificent.
Let's get everybody back, Mark. Let's take all the good things that happened in the Justice League 4-hour cut, which is good, Scott, by the way. That's incorrect. It is very good. I'm not going to have that type of slander on our podcast.
It's good, but a better filmmaker would be able to make a good movie that doesn't take 4 hours.
I can agree with that. That's a fair assessment.
That's my assessment. It is good, but a better filmmaker doesn't need 4 hours to make a good movie.
Personally,
Germans are great, you guys. I'm sorry they take 3 hours.
I mean, there's Godfather Part 1 and Part 2. There's Justice League Part 1, Part 2.
I'm with you, Mark. I'm with you. I think Justice League had. I think the direction they were going, Scott, was it. I hope James Gunn can do it well. I'm very excited for him to be in doing this, and I think what makes Black Adam work, though, for me, is I do think he's a formidable foe. Mark, you are correct for how much he destroys people. He is a formidable foe for Superman.
What is it for Superman? It's kryptonite and magic, and his enemies are basically anyone that could wield what Black Adam can wield, or should say, those dudes hypothetically can defeat Superman. So yes,
let's do a Shazam and Superman versus Black Adam movie. Let's make it happen.
That's exactly what I don't want, though. I don't, because Henry Cavill's Superman in 3 movies: Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Justice League. One of those movies he got to be himself. Everything else, he's fighting somebody that he ends up fighting alongside.
But how do you top what he did in Man of Steel on a solo movie? Do you have him go against Lex Luthor? Because not many people loved the way
Brainiac
but then in Brainiac, you're back to Man of Steel. Same concept. You're back to this machine trying to take over the globe. I'm not saying I'm against it. I think it's been enough time that I think we could get another, you know what? The globe's in trouble. It's time for Superman to come back and save literally everybody. You could bring some of these people back and have them die or get absolutely destroyed through the process too.
Well, I wonder if they're making Black Adam be a good guy, potentially, are they going the route of Injustice? Because in Injustice, he's a good guy, and there's the sides, and I think he sides with Batman in that. I'm not.
That is interesting.
So that's the whole thing. Clearly they're making him, in my opinion, I think they're making Black Adam a good guy. For now. So that's why I think you have to go with Superman. It's got to be otherworldly things. You can't do it like the faux Superman 3 with Brandon Routh, and the whole concept is Lex Luthor wants to create more real estate. So that's not really going to be a movie that everyone's want to see. I think you got to make it a big bad again, like Brainiac.
Yeah, I think Brainiac's a formidable foe.
Lex Luthor, not the wrestler, Lex Luthor. In his Luthor suit, the big, the thing that he can fight.
Yeah.
So you gotta do stuff like that, in my opinion. So,
Scott,
I think that's a problem inherent in Superman, is that literally all throughout the first Justice League or 4 hours of the Justice League, you're just waiting for Superman to show up. He nullifies the rest of the Justice League. They're unnecessary once he shows up, and that's always my big problem with Superman. I could be wrong, but as somebody who just watches Superman movies and hasn't really read a Superman comic, he's just so overpowered. And it's just, all right, he's going to come and save everything. We know you were fighting, what was his name? Beetlejuice?
Darkseid?
No, the guy with the horn. Steppenwolf.
Steppenwolf. Now, if he has to fight Beetlejuice, then he is an equal foe.
Beetlejuice. That's brilliant.
Okay, but with all this said with this movie, I'm actually more excited for Flashpoint now, because if they're having this direction where it's that's tying in stuff, that could also change what's happening. So,
do you think the public will be able to overlook Ezra Miller?
Yeah, he's atoning for his bad deeds. So that's what people want.
We'll see. Well, Scott, thank you for coming on and being on this episode with us. It was wonderful to spend 90 minutes with you. Actually, 2 hours for us, but 90 minutes with you. It's pre-show. You got to check out the pre-show to get the other 40 minutes.
Patreon.com/The Infinity Bros. Check out the pre-show where we discuss Ghosts, Mark's orange light, Max making out with either
And
Mark
Scott.
or me.
I'm not making out with either of you.
There's
Don't
a lot of stuff
solicit
that
that.
happened
Yeah.
in that pre-show that you should check out. And I'm not just saying that as like I'm like the the hair club for men. Like I'm not only a member, or what is it? I'm not only president, I'm also a member. Anyway, I'm a patron. I support the show because I like it and I appreciate it. So you should too.
And we support the Christian Nerd. We really do like that. We strongly encourage you to check
Mark
his
is
podcast
literally a patron. So thank you.
He
Mark.
is. Yep.
Yeah.
So make sure you check it out. Links in the show notes. Make sure you go give Scott some support. If you're looking for someone diving into the biblical perspective on pop culture and nerd culture, there is probably no better podcast out there, in my opinion.
Man.
If you're not into that, that's okay. That's okay.
Don't be into it. That's
totally
cool.
fine. Don't do it. Just send him an angry email and make fun of him for me. You can even say I'm the one that wrote it. Feel free.
Yeah.
Mark, thank you for coming on. As
Max
always, it was real.
It
It was great. It was not real great.
Hey, it's
Mark,
always
I
been
enjoyed
great.
being with you. I thought it was great.
I enjoy being with both you guys. I don't know why Max is always so mean to me all the time, because I enjoy his time, his friendship, and his loving nature as a human being, and I would never trade anything in the world for him. So,
Mark, I'm mean to you, but you know that I have your back and I love you as well. You know this. So thank you, Infinity Bros Universe, wherever you listened, however you listened. Thanks for making your podcast experience in community with us. You can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter on the links we all talked about pre-show. You can see those in the show notes, as well as Scott's link to the Christian Nerd podcast. As always, we'll have you guys 3000. We'll see you soon. See ya. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Infinity Bros podcast. You can find the Infinity Bros on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the Infinity Bros. Feel free to send listener feedback via email at infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com.